Alright, looks like I might have figured it out. So we'll give this another go. Maybe it was something wrong with that recording from Chris's point of view, but that's okay. Alright, as they always say, oh, here we go. As they always say, third time's the charm. So let's rock in, let's kick it off, let's give it a go this time. Third time lucky, loading, in game. Here we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I have to do the introduction for the third time now. And here we go. We have over. I'll just quit. I won't do the introduction until we see that this game is actually going to start loading and continually play. It looks like we're in a pretty good situation here. So welcome back, everyone, to. Yep, no, everything looks okay. Awesome. All right, welcome back to the third game in this best of 7 matchup between Aliens and Predators and Heartless, playing off here in round 2 of the losers bracket for Clan Masters, the final showdown. We are on the point of view. We are on the point of view of MBL over here in the grey, playing as a Hunnic pocket. But instead of doing that, let's introduce his flank first instead. Who is the one and only Fiage, playing as the Spanish. He's playing in the yellow as MBL's flank over here. We've already introduced MBL. Let's rock on over to the other pocket, who is Melkor, playing as the Mongols. A Mongol pocket, really, really nice for him. And he's going to be supporting out on his flank. He's got Leary playing as the Mayans. Oh, this is quite nice out here on this sort of right-hand side of the team for the Heartless guys over here on the eastern edge of the map. But zooming over now, glossing over, we'll have a quick look at the Aliens and Predators team out here on the on one of the flanks here in the grey. In the orange, we have KGB alive. Alive KGB, every way you want to put it, who's getting one of his sheep lamed now from Leary, bit unfortunate for him, but he's playing in the orange trunks, and he's also playing as the Mayans. His pocket today supporting him is going to be the Max, playing as the Aztecs. So we have a cute little Mesoamerican myriad of civilizations going on over here between Alive and the Max. The other pocket for the Aliens and Predators boys down here is a Mongol, and his name today is I Am Chris, the Canadian, the very, very strong Canadian player playing as the Mongols over here in the pocket in the green trunks, and he's going to be supporting a Hunnic flank in the form of Vic Winchester playing in the purple. Winchester seems to like the purple, Chris seems to like the green, and everyone else is sort of just switching around colours, it seems. But yeah, as I was saying, man, Mayan flank for both players, or both teams, is going to be so nice. I'm expecting to see some drushes coming in from the Mayans. And it looks like Alive has actually got, kind of a nice map. He can wall off quite easily with some buildings and palisades off at the front of his base, and maybe even start getting, if he wants to go, the whole hog, he can wall off across here, and okay, he can't wall off there, that's ridiculous, but he can keep most of his economy nice and safe, maybe just plonk a wall down across there and across there, and this whole front side of his economy, it's easy enough to wall off here too, keeps his stone nice and safe, and that's going to be really, really strong for him as well. We saw Leary laming one of his sheep before, and he's lamed another one of his sheep, unless that was the same little sheep, and Leary getting a little bit of laming going on there. We have a Mongol pocket here in the form of Melkor, which is going to be really nice. It's going to be interesting to see how much support he actually gives his Mayan pocket, his Mayan flank here even, because if he is allowed a bit of a free boom and they can get the Mongol powerhouse rolling, the Heartless boys out here on the right-hand side of the map are going to be in a really, really nice position. A Hun pocket here with MBL, that's really strong as well. Hun's really great on the pocket or flank, and MBL trying to support his, trying to bring in a bit of extra food to Fiage here, trying to lame a boar. Winchester wise, Winchester aware to it, and cutting that out quick smart, or at least trying to. He's getting a few nice hits here on the scout from MBL. But hopefully MBL will be able to pull this in for his ally here. On the flank we have Fiage again playing as the Spanish, and that's a little bit of an interesting predicament for him. We saw in the first game on Arabia, which I also failed to mention. This map is Arabia, the home map of the losers of game 2. So the Heartless boys have chosen Arabia. Why not? They managed to pick a victory, the first victory in this set of games on Arabia. It looks like MBL is not going to be able to get this ball back for VH unless VH brings his laming skills over here to grab it himself, and might even. Oh, he's going to keep a scout alive. That's really nice. But VH is not going to be able to take both of these scouts on. This villager might actually still be able to rush over here and grab that boar, but MBL is going to retreat away with his scout, a wounded warrior with only 1 HP left. Chris quickly clicking up to the fuselage now, as the Mongols pretty much expected. The Mongols just able to gobble up the boar so quickly, and he's gone up on 21 pops, so we might even be seeing scouts from him, and that's not uncommon to see in these as a Mongol flank. Often you would Mongol pocket even. A lot of the times you will see them just fast castle and try and get a bit of a free ish boom or uncontested boom. Other times you'll see them dropping down a barracks and going for some scouts to try and surprise their opponent and support their flanks as well. And in fact, we can see Chris moving out here to take the deer, so he might be in a good position to go ahead and drop down some drop down a barracks, drop down a stable, and start pumping out some scouts to help out his flank in the form of Winchester, who is going ahead and drushing as the Huns. We did see him drush in the first game on Arabia as well against, I believe it was Melkor, and this time he's drushing against VH, who has had his barracks denied in Spanish flank. Man, it's so hard to try and contest against. But the two Mayan flanks here in the form of Alive and Larry pushing out against each other. The drushes. Leary's drush is not really going to find too much apart from walls, pretty trees, and a couple of militia and an eagle warrior here from Alive, who gets Alive, who gets a nice few pot shots on these militia here from Leary. Leary walling up back at home, looking like he might be wanting to going for a sort of drush fast castle, pushing in a couple of deer here. So drush fast castle almost certainly on his mind, and we do see a drush coming in now as well from the Max, who was an Aztec pocket, and this is something else that we saw in the previous Arabia game from Chris, who was the Aztec pocket and decided to wall up and boom, more or less, and defend quite well, if I may say so, or if I'm allowed to say, against the the sort of semi smush from his opposing Aztec player MBL, but he's. And the Max has decided to first attack this wolf that only wants to play and, affectionately nibble at the toes of his militia, and he's going to batter it to death, and then he's going to push out with his drush, and he's going to combine forces with the drush from his Mayan flank here and try and see what economical damage and harassment he can do to the economy here of Leary. And Leary's going to be in a really precarious situation. 6 militia with 2 Eagle Scouts against 1 Eagle Warrior, sorry. Against 2 militia here from himself is going to be a really, really hard situation for him to deal with this. We can see the drush from Winchester not even giving a toss about the town centre fight. Maybe not the best idea, because he has lost 2/3 of his drush to the nice quick walling from VH, coupled with the garrison town centre. And this is okay. I guess the aim of a drush is to create idle time for your opponent, but if you lose 2/3 of your drush and not do anything else in the process, I'm not really sure how effective it is. And I suppose it's given Winchester enough time to wall off the front of his base back at home, and maybe preparing himself for a nice fast castle off the back of that questionably efficient drush. As he's clicked up to the fuselage now, he's looking a little bit low on resources, but maybe he'll be able to pull something out of the bag, as we see an extra 2 militia now coming from the Aztecs pocket in the form of Max, who we sort of expect this to come about. You normally see 5 militia drush on the flank from the Aztecs, but a little bit, something a little bit different. Always nice to see. And there are the scouts there from Chris pushing out and trying to harass the berries, the berry gatherers, the foragers of MBL, who has gotten up to the fuselage in quite a nice time, chucking down a stable. And I thought maybe a blacksmith would be popping up somewhere, but maybe his economy is not quite set up for that, as we can see the double drush, I guess you could say, from the Mayan and Aztec players out on the out on the topmost flank for the Aliens and Predators team, getting into the wood line of Leary here and causing a nice bout of idle time and just a little bit of harassment on the villagers here as well from Leary. And this is going to be quite nice in the long run for the Aliens and Predators boys out on the left hand side. Just because Drush Fast Castle is more or less, Drush Fast Castle is what Leary was wanting to do, and creating that idle time on the villagers to be able to sort of knock that on the head is always going to be put you in a nice position. I can hear the stable coming up from Fiage, so we see Fiage. What is he planning on doing? Because his drush was really, really delayed. He's got a nice bout of food and he's starting to wall up a little bit, expecting maybe that his opponent out here, his Hunnic opponent, his Hunnic flank, his opposite is going to be going for scouts, and we can see 2 stables being popped down for Vinchester now as well. Is he anywhere near the castle age, or is he? No, he's not. He's going to be going, it looks like, a little bit more aggressive. He's going to be going full scouts. Well, not full scouts, but quite aggressive on the scouts, as the drush from Max is still actually alive, so much so that he decided to go for the man-at-arms upgrade, and this is a really, really nice idea. He's got a villager pick. That's a really, really nice pick here on the gold mine here from Leary. Leary managing to get out a couple of archers here. No, not upgraded, no fletching, but these man-at-arms aren't going to be able to stand up to too much more fire from a town centre, as well as an archer hitting him in the back of the head with some hitting him in the back of the head with his arrows that he's firing out. The scouts from Chris still moving around, going to get a few pot shots done here by the spearman of MBL. MBL managing to pick off one of the scouts from Chris, but Chris is doing a really, really nice job harassing and slowing down MBL. MBL still up to the castle age in a reasonably respectable time. He's thrown down a stable. His blacksmith has obviously been plonked down somewhere, but oh, it's right there. Okay. Fantastic. That's actually really hard to see when you're casting where the buildings are. But he's managed to slow down MBL somewhat and give himself time to wall off his... Wow, that's a funky looking wall out here. And then continually walling off the semi-walled in part of his economy here. But he should be in a good position with his economy. MBL, that is, once he gets up to the castle age, as he has managed to still click up in a semi-respectable time. What else is going on over the map? We can see some archers from Leary pushing out across the map, narrowly missing the Mayan archers from his opposing flank here alive as they both push out, just to see what sort of damage, what sort of economical harassment they can do to each other. Has Leary scouted? I imagine Leary has actually scouted the main gold of his Mayan opponent, and he has, so it looks like he's going to be heading around there straight away. No, he's not, because he's going to wait for the reinforcements from his Mongolian pocket here. Although the scouts from Chris starting to push into the Mongol pocket now as well. But Melkor alive and aware and very, very wise to the fact that this could be coming in. Obviously, he's been told by his team that, Chris is going scouts, get a couple of spearmen out or a camel or two, and just be aware that you might see some pretty ponies in your base at any time during the feudal age or castle age even. As Vinchester now up to the castle age himself, having thrown down an extra town centre, so it doesn't look like he wanted to go scouts at all. Getting straight up to the castle age is going to pump out 2 stable knights, which is going to be really, really nice for him, especially since Chris has done, quite a bit of economical harassment. Not so much game debilitating damage, but quite a bit of economical harassment to his opponents. And now it's Vinchester's turn to sort of take over the mantle, I guess you could say, and give Chris time to boom up and start really rocking into the night production, and give Chris time to sort of boom up, and maybe they want to let Chris go for a bit more of a boom. But in saying that, it doesn't look like they will, as Scale Barding Armor now kicking in for Chris as well, as he does click up to the castle age. Now Leary finally advanced to the castle age, as we see at the moment, with crossbowmen coming in straight away. It doesn't look like there's going to be any or too many more upgrades popping in for him. A nice house popping down, and a town centre being thrown up on his main gold. Really, really nice positioning for him as he does move out with some archers here, looking what harassment he can get against his Mayan opponent alive here, who has thrown up an extra town centre on his main gold, and moving out to stone, more or less what you'd expect to see as the Mayans. You want to start getting those castles up as early as you can without sacrificing too much more of your economy. And getting those plumed archers out just as soon as you possibly can. But the upgrade advantage is actually quite nicely in favour here. For Alive. But this is the difference in the sort of northern sort of area here, where Leary is going to have the support of Mongolian knights, which can get bloodlines, so relatively pretty strong knights. Whereas the Aztecs is going to support. No way. There's no way that the Aztec player, the Max here, is going to support his Mayan flank for a while. You can see he's stonewalled up, taking a leaf out of Chris's book from the previous game. And once he does manage to get up to the castle age, it looks like he's going to be going for some sort of a boom. Maybe getting to the Imperial Age as quickly as he can to try and help out his Mayan flank in that respect instead. So maybe we're just going to see a bit more of a passive game, a bit more of a defensive game from the excuse me, from the Aliens and Predators boys, the Mesoamerican boys up here in the north of the map. Um, this is cute. Walls existing or coexisting side by side, but yeah, it might be a little bit more of a passive game up here on the north for the Max and Cage and Alive, as opposed to down on the south where we might see Vinchester, who is starting to patrol around with Knights +1 armor and +1. Yeah, sorry, +1 defense and +1 offense having been done for him, pushing in against the Spanish Knights from Fiage, who's got a monastery up in a town centre. Town centre coming up in double monasteries. Going to get a few monks to be able to push back these knights from Vic Vinchester, who just decides to forego that and push out to MBL's base. Now throwing up a second stable as well, as we can see that the defensiveness or the defensive stature for Alive is not paying off to what I thought it would, as he starts to push out across the map with some crossbowmen, +2 or Bodkin arrow done with padded archer armor coming in, and he's going to be able to get a nice few villager picks here if he does manage to get into the heart of his opponent's economy. But some really, really nice quick walls going in toward the town centre here is going to pretty much stop this attack in its tracks. Might get a villager pick here on the wall, but apart from that, it looks like Alive is not going to be able to do too much more economical damage or harassment. As we see monks as we see the monks slowly waddling their way over to help out from Fiage, that is, over to his pocket, his Hunnock pocket MBL here. He's got a conversion. He's done very, very well getting a conversion there. Not creating, I don't think, too many knights of his own. Just using the Spanish monks to be able to woololo his way to a substantial army. It's just a couple of sheep, and we can see some Mongolian knights as well coming back with chain barding armor, having been or rather on the way for Melkor, who is up to 3 town centers now, already over onto the stone. Again, just like the Mayans, really, really important for a Mongolian player to get onto that stone as early as you can. And wow, a couple of sheep here missed actually. Were they Fiage's sheep or were they MBL's? I'm not sure whose sheep these are. Maybe they weren't lamed because they look like they were just a group of 4. Maybe MBL missed his sheep, in which case it's even more impressive that he managed to click up to the Castle Age in such a nice time. But Bloodlines and Chain Barding Armor now coming in for Melkor, and not a moment too soon. Oh wait, no, hang on. That's his it's his flank, so that's fine. But Chain Barding Armor and Bloodlines now having been done for these Mongolian knights, and they're going to be able to stand up to quite a beating from any crossbows or any other sort of units that do want to try and take them down. Monastery and University coming up for Vinchester now as well. The University, and a 3rd town centre as well. It looks like, is Vinchester, yeah, Vinchester is nearly ready to click up, and he's being slung. There we go. So we're seeing the sling coming for the Max. It's a pity that the spectator dash, or the overlay didn't actually show, but I suppose I should have really clicked when we saw Max was just walling up and not really going up to any extra town centers. So he's going for a feudal age sling, and of course this is on the War is Coming mod, so it does shift the slinging technologies back in age. So you know, the compared to the old style, I guess you could say, a feudal age sling not quite as strong as it used to be, but still definitely strong enough to get his Hunnock his Hunnock ally up to the Imperial Age in quite a nice time. That's what these buildings were for, obviously, and throwing down a few extra stables, so it looks like he's going to be going for 5 stables right off the bat as soon as he hits the Imperial Age. +1 defense already done. Ironcasting coming in for him now as well, as Chris is starting to get into the economy of Melkor, who has, as we saw before, got +2 defense as well as Bloodlines. So he's going to be able to, along with the defender's advantage, be able to push back Chris's little meager attack of light cav and camels there as well. And we can see Chris starting to retreat there. It's not really a fight that he thinks is going to be worthwhile for him to take, but more camels actually being thrown out, and Chris is thinking, well, people have not been using camels as raiding units for too long. I'm going to show them how effective they can be as raiding units. So he's going to start pushing out across the map, maybe looking to see what damage he can do to the army of Melkor here. Melkor's going to be losing this fight pretty substantially if he doesn't get some sort of a backup from his crossbowman of Leary, who is now starting to slowly push out across the map. As MBL does do the same, pushing into Vinchester, who's going to retreat away from this fight, not wanting to take any unnecessary losses before he does reach the Imperial Age. As we can see, +2 defense and husbandry coming in now as well, with the pikeman upgrade kicking in for Fiage, and this is going to be quite a nice little addition to this knight army from MBL. Pikemen coming in and starting to put a little bit more smackdown on these knights from Winchester is going to put them in a really nice position. Although maybe they don't know that. I'm sure they know that the sling was coming in because they haven't seen anything from Max in a while. But we can see that the sling was definitely coming in with Cavalier, plate barding armor, and handcart now kicking in for Winchester as well. He's going to be in quite a nice position once those upgrades, or once the cavalry upgrades do kick in, to be able to push back this this little army here from MBL and Fiage. It looks like over here Melkor, along with the help of his Mayan flank, Leary has managed to push back this little cavalry contingency, I guess you could say, from Chris, as he does start to roam around. Oh, this might be them here actually. Maybe this is another weak group. As Chris does start to push around the map, seeing what damage he can do. But it looks like all the action, all the gameplay is starting to happen in Winchester's base, and we see quite a few monks coming in. And this is the monks, the knights, the pikemen. This is going to be really dicey to see if Winchester, or how much military Winchester's going to lose here as well. Cavalier kicking in now, and the pretty pink Cavalier, always nice to see. But it certainly looks like with the aid of the sling, with the aid of the defender's advantage and the quicker Hunnic stables, Winchester will be able to push all this back. But I don't know, man. MBL managed to get a lot of harassment down here, idling a little bit of Winchester's economy. Again, doesn't matter terribly if you are getting a sling. But at the same time, this is really nice from MBL, keeping Winchester locked up in his base. Or not locked up in his base, but keeping him cooped up in his base, I guess. Meaning that he can't push out and do any sort of harassment to anyone else under the sling, and that's never what you want. As a player being slung, you don't want to have to be sticking in your base, because that's just negating the purpose of the sling completely. But over here, this could be a really nice pick from Leary if he's paying attention. Is he paying attention to the villagers that are going to build the castle? No, he's not. So this is that could have been such a nice pick from Leary. as he pushed out with those crossbows, pushing out again with a few more crossbows down here to the south of Alive's base. But this would have been an absolute slaughterhouse. But the castle, I think the first castle actually now popping up for Alive. Yep, first castle popping up for Alive as Chris and Melkor both click up to the Imperial Age now as well, and Winchester now starting to push out. With all these +4 Cavalier, +2 attack also done. A few sheep roaming around the map here. I don't really think they're going to play too much of a part in the game. Walling again behind the palisade walls out here is Winchester as he moves some villagers over to the western flank, or the western corner of the map, to start setting up the trade, preparing for the long game this is indeed going to turn into. The castles are now starting to flow thick and fast as well for the Blue Mayan player here, Leary, as he chucks up his... Okay, not really thick and fast, but he chucks up his second castle here, and you can see the plumed archer transition already starting to happen. But Alive is ahead in terms of economy as he clicks up to the Imperial Age before Leary. But Leary moving around right around the back of his base with a nice contingency of crossbows, and it'll be interesting to see how much economic damage he can do to his opponent over there. We can see Winchester now starting to push out with Paladin. The Paladin upgrade starting to kick in now as well, starting to try and push out against his opponents here, getting right into the heart of MBL's economy, looking to repay the favour that MBL so kindly did, or paid to him not too long ago, as Max puts forward a couple of forward houses. A very strong strategy to any new players. Always build forward houses. It's the strongest strategy, and your opponents just won't expect it. But this could be really good for Leary as he gets a few villager picks as the repairs come in on the Mangonel. But Cavalier is just starting to flow thick and fast into the economy here of MBL, and MBL, with the help of Fiage's pikes and knights of his own, it looks like he might be able to hold this back. Melkor kicking in with some camels as well, and it looks like this could be kind of nice for Winchester if he can push in here and start taking these fights and really put the damage down on MBL. He's not really focusing on the fact that there are MBL villagers mining his gold here, but it's all fine for him. For the time being. Paladin upgrade now kicking in as well. His +4, yes, +4 has been done. The Paladin upgrade now also been done, and Winchester clinging to this hill. If he can get control of this hill, again, this is going to be a really important staging point for him to start pushing into MBL's base, as Melkor does start coming over now with the soon-to-be elite Mangudai. And this is really nice for Winchester. He's managing to distract 3 of his opponents, which is more or less what he needs to do, seeing as though the Max is going just full sling, and he's not going to be able to participate with too much army as the time for the time being. +4 fully upgraded paladins now for the purple Hunnic player out here on the flank for aliens and predators. Vic Vinchester, as he starts to really put the smackdown on everyone's economy. Castle being thrown up in the pretty much like straight in the economy of pardon me, of Fiage's elite Mangudai. Yep, elite Mangudai from Chris, who we haven't really paid too much attention to since he did this sort of economic harassment at the beginning of the game with the scouts, and that's a massacre. That is an absolute massacre of Purple Paladin, and that's really not a nice sight to see. But now with Chris, his pocket helping him out a little bit more now, having had somewhat of an uncontested boom, I guess you could say, he's going to be able to start flooding out those elite Mangudai, and we're going to start seeing the powerhouse that is the Mongol civilization as this game does start to progress into the later stages. But so far, all the Paladin that were roaming around MBL's base from Vinchester have been cleaned up with the help of the elite Mangudai coming over from Malkor as well. So Malkor up on 2 castles from what I can see, 3 castles, so he's going to be in a good position to start pumping out some Mangudai as well. Obviously, getting all the upgrades on the elite Mangudai is such a long, arduous process, but it is one that, pardon me, it is one that definitely is one that you should definitely take. Elite Mangudai just so strong if you can mass them up, and there's not much that really can stop them. And over over on the northern flank, this is just a classic mine war. Actually, no, I lie. A classic mine war would be siege rams. So if we could see some siege rams coming in from these guys, that would be really nice. But obviously, focus firing down the castles from each of the mine players here is going to be so important, as mines are going to almost invariably go for plumed archers and siege rams. Although in saying that, there's only battering rams having been done for these guys up here on the north, and I don't actually see any rams coming in for alive, which, in my opinion, a little bit of a mistake. But it looks like down here is again where the action is. Vinchester, the action just follows this boy wherever he goes. He is still struggling to push in against 3 players, though Chris, to his credit, is starting to push in now as well, taking control of this hill just outside of Fiage's base, which is going to be a really nice position for him. And at the moment, Fiage isn't actually doing too much. And again, Spanish flank, he didn't really have the best start in the world, having his barracks denied right in the beginning. But he is managing to slowly pull himself back. He is bottom scorer of his team. He's also bottom scorer of the game. Not looking too good for him. So at the moment, I guess you could say it's more of a 2v2 down on the southern side, whereas it is obviously a 1v1 Mayan matchup out here on the north, and this is what we like to see. We like to see these rams starting to come in from the Mayan players, just soaking up so much arrow fire, and if you can get up close, the bonus damage they do against other siege is going to be so nice. So Leary's starting to tech quite heavily, or more heavily, into the rams, is in my opinion definitely what he wants to see. And wow, Vinchester actually starting to send some paladins up to the north of the map to help out his Mayan flank. His Mayan flank, not his flank, but his Mayan teammate. Starting to take down these rams that are just being so pesky for him, and it's fair enough because it looks like for the time being, Chris and Vinchester do have a somewhat firm hold over this hill. Where the heck did it go? Over this hill. Chris is like, nah, I got this. You go and help. You go and help the Mayan boy up the top. And Max actually got up to the. Yeah, Max is up to the feudal, not the feudal age, the castle age even, with coinage now coming in as well. So it looks like he might continue the slinging role. Plumed archers here from Alive, picking off a nice few villager picks out here at the back. Oh, the north, I guess you could say it's going to be very soon to be the back of Leary's base. But the paladins, you can just see on the minimap, the purple stream is just all too real. And it looks like he's going to start pushing straight into the economy of his opponents here. If he can go in and really start putting the damage down on Leary, then this northern side is going to be in a really nice position. Unfortunately, it does leave Chris a little bit exposed to potentially a 1v3 very soon, if Fiage does manage to get his boom up a little bit stronger, and if he does manage to click up to the Imperial Age and get either paladins of his own, or maybe even tech into some elite conquistadors. That would be really fun to see. But yeah, it does sort of leave Chris a little bit more vulnerable, I guess, although he does have this really nice and crucial hill to cling to as he throws down a second castle up here as well. The sling's still coming in quite strong from Max to Vinchester, and again, you can just see this long finger of death, the finger of Vinchester just pushing out across the map. Malkor now bringing in some elite Mangadai over to help Leary, but Leary, pretty much all of his economy is just idled at the moment. There's not too many villages that are actually working, and even those villages that are working are going to be in a really precarious situation as Vinchester gets a nice pick out here on the gold miners from Melkor as well, and it's starting to look really, really strong for the Aliens and Predators team. The sling is really starting to pay off, even though it didn't quite pay off too much at the start of the Imperial Age of Winchester. He's really starting to put the foot down now, and he's pretty much just going to gut. It looks like he's just going to completely gut the economy of Leary here. And Leary, you can see that his population is just dropping to under 100. That's never the situation you want to be in. He's nearly on par with the population. Oh, he's actually under the population of the Max, who is going ahead and slinging at the moment under one town centre, I do believe. But this is a huge fight. Hunnic Paladin's now coming in for MBL as well, trying to fight uphill against the elite Mangadai from Chris under the shadow of two castles as well. And the pretty pink purple paladins of power and stuff like that in Winchester is in here. But where the heck happened there? Okay, that was a really, really nice fight. I guess the sheer numbers were just too much for the Aliens and Predators team down here on the south. And it looks like all of the elite plumed archers from Leary managing to pull back and push away his opponents. So maybe Heartless are actually starting to stabilize a little bit. The scores are pretty heavily in favor of Aliens and Predators, and I do feel like the damage they did, just because it's not continuing as much as it was before, was definitely substantial enough to solidify their lead. And it looks like we're going to have another scuffle here as well between the elite Mangadai of the two Mongol players, Chris and Melkor, as Paladins from MBL come in behind to try and help out. But no, they're going to retreat away from that fight as Winchester does start to push into the economy now of PH, who hasn't really done too much in this game, to be completely honest with you. A lot of free villager picks out here, which the Max is now flaring as well, with a lot of outposts. Max just pushing forward with outposts as MBL puts up a castle, on this hill and starts trying to trap down the all-important castles from the Mongols here. But another fight on this hill. Between the Paladins. Only the Paladins, I suppose the Elite Mangadai are getting in on the action somewhat as well, but it looks like the Elite Mangadai and Paladin mixture here from Winchester and Chris are going to be able to take this fight quite convincingly. The Mongols just so strong when they get into the Imperial Age, as we've seen so many times before in this tournament. Trade now being set up quite consistently and quite solidly for the Aliens and Predators team down on the south of the map as well. And we can see that there is quite a hefty push coming in now. An elite skirmisher and elite plumed archer mixture from our orange Mayan player up here on the north of the map, along with, finally, he's got some cat rams pushing in now as well, as Siege Ram on the way, as well as chemistry, and paladins to back it up, with some elite Mangadai now coming over from Melkor to try and help him out. But the skirmishers are going to be a really, really nice addition to push that back. And this is really bad for the Heartless boys up here on the north of the map, as we can see a little bit of Paladin raiding now coming in on the gold mine again from Melkor. Winchester picking up on almost everything that's going on in this map. It doesn't look like, this fight over here again, the Paladins and Elite Mangadai mixture here from the Aliens and Predators boys coming through, and Heartless calling GG on the second Arabia map. Oh man, I can honestly say that that was somewhat expected. The sling was just so strong, and after Winchester managed to start pushing back and really do damage to everyone's economy, managing to hold more or less 1v3 out here on this eastern flank for a while, and then managing to push in really heftily and do all the damage into Leary's base. And Fiage was sort of out of the game, to be honest. He didn't have the nicest start, and he didn't really contribute too much to the proceedings. Past a few pikemen and a few monks here and there in the Castle Age. In fact, he never actually got out of the Castle Age himself. So really well played. He might have actually been, well played to both players, to both teams even, but particularly well played to the Aliens and Predators boys, who do take the third match quite convincingly, I guess you could say, in a nice and comfortable fashion. So we'll come out of that game, as we always do at the end of the games, and we'll kick in and we'll kick in the next game after. Again, I grab a drink of water and have a wee bit of a relax.